We'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people, whose presence on these lands stretches back to time immemorial. We're grateful to the Algonquin Nation for hosting us and recognize their ongoing stewardship of this land. My name is Etienne Eason, and I'm the main organizer of the Pilgrimage for the Planet, a faith-based climate justice campaign spearheaded by the Eastern Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Canada. I'm joined today by Beth Lorimer of Kairos Canada, Paul Gers of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Canada, Agnes Richard of the Mouvement Laudato Si movement, and Angela Keller-Herzog of Cafes Ottawa. Today, we stand united in calling on the newly elected federal government to sign on to and implement the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. Under this treaty, Canada would have a legal obligation to stop all new fossil fuel projects, to wind down the existing production of fossil fuels, and to do so in a manner that doesn't leave communities or workers behind. We are making this call today, one day after Mother's Day, in the wake of the Pilgrimage for the Planet, a pilgrimage from Montreal in which people from all sorts of backgrounds, faith and non-faith, joined together to cycle here to the national capital to show solidarity with each other, with those most affected by the climate crisis, with all of creation, and to make this urgent call. This morning, the pilgrims gathered with a crowd of about 100 people on Parliament Hill. I believe they're still there. And for a demonstration that was co-sponsored by Fridays for Future Ottawa, Cafes Ottawa, Kairos Canada, the Mouvement Laudato Si movement, ORSI, and the Oblate Centre. These people are gathered there out of a deep concern for the current state of climate policy in Canada. While the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement was important and monumental, it failed to mention oil, coal, or gas, despite 86% of climate change causing carbon emissions coming from the burning of fossil fuels. This has led to a faulty perception in which policymakers believe that we can increase our production of fossil fuels while still reducing our emissions. This approach relies on unreliable and unproven technology like carbon capture and storage, which only perpetuates our dependence on fossil fuels, exacerbating the problem. We need policies that explicitly interrogate fossil fuels as being the problem. The Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty has been endorsed by 618 faith institutions around the world. It's been endorsed by over 3,000 scientists and academics and countless subnational governments, over a dozen national governments, and countless civil society organizations. Of course, we understand that when it comes to winding down the production of fossil fuels in Canada, there has been well-founded concern about the future and well-being of oil and gas workers. However, according to the advocacy organization Iron and Earth that works with oil workers, 2/3 of oil and gas workers say they are interested in making the switch to the green energy sector. And Canada has a responsibility to support these workers in choosing this industry. We are all pilgrims on this planet. We have no faith in fossil fuels. Let's have faith in a flourishing, fossil fuel-free future, one that works for everyone. I'll now hand it over to Beth Lorimer of Kairos Canada.
Thanks, Etienne. Good afternoon. In 2021, Kairos Canada joined a growing number of organizations and individuals to formally endorse the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. As an organization rooted in faith-based social justice, Kairos sees this endorsement as a moral imperative and a reflection of our commitment to a just and livable future for all. We are in a moment of profound global reckoning. The climate crisis, driven by an economy dependent on fossil fuels, is deepening inequality, displacing millions, and putting our planet's survival at risk. The impacts are not felt equally. Indigenous and Global South communities, who have contributed the least to this crisis, bear the greatest burdens, from floods and droughts to food insecurity and forced migration. Kairos partners with local women's organizations and peace builders in these communities and works with them to address intersecting issues that compound climate impacts, like conflict, gender inequality, and economic injustice. Kairos affirms that Indigenous rights must be at the heart of our response to this crisis. Indigenous peoples have cared for and defended their lands for generations, and their knowledge and leadership are vital to building a sustainable future. The path to climate justice must begin with implementation of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, including the right to free, prior, and informed consent. The Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty offers bold and necessary action. In 2023, the International Energy Agency affirmed that in order for us to stay within 1.5 degrees of global warming, there can be no new fossil fuel projects in the world, and we need robust investments in alternative energy sources. The treaty initiative calls to phase out existing production in a fair and equitable way and support workers and communities in a just transition. This is the pathway to climate justice. We call on Canada and all governments to act with courage, urgency, and compassion by endorsing the treaty and committing to transformative action. The Reverend Rachel Mash from the Anglican Church of Southern Africa reminds us the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty is a way to stand in solidarity with those most impacted. Our faith calls us to justice and solidarity, and our love for the earth and all its inhabitants compels us to action. And the time to act is now. Thank you.
At its best, faith calls us into deep, respectful, caring relationship with all of creation. This is a lesson I have learned multiple times from Indigenous elders and leaders. It is also a message we hear in the Christian tradition, as Easter calls us to the rhythms of the earth, life and death and life. We need each other as we work for climate justice in all our diversity, creativity, humility, and faith. The challenge with burning fossil fuels is that we have ignored the climate crisis for so long that there is an urgent need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions as quickly as possible. The Evangelical Lutheran Church in Canada, with 450 congregations and 75,000 members, supports the global call for a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty as an expression of care for creation and out of concern for people nearby and far away, those most affected by climate change. The Evangelical Lutheran Church in Canada has made a commitment towards carbon neutrality. Becoming carbon neutral is a huge challenge, but it is attainable. The implications and difficulty of specific options for reducing greenhouse gas emissions vary from context to context. We understand the call for a treaty to be a call for nations, leaders, businesses, communities, and people of goodwill everywhere to work together to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. I express my gratitude to the cyclists who made the journey from Montreal to Ottawa in order to raise awareness for the need for a fossil fuel treaty. Your pedal power is a reminder, inspiration, and encouragement to the Church.
In 2015, ahead of the Paris Climate Agreement, Pope Francis released Laudato Si, On Care of Our Common Home. The letter made a powerful moral argument for reducing humanity's dependence on fossil fuels as a means of mitigating interconnected social and ecological justice concerns. In 2023, he followed up with Laudate Deum. And in Laudate Deum, Pope Francis wrote, 8 years has passed since I published Laudato Si, and in that I wanted to share my heartfelt concerns about care for our common home. Yet, with the passage of time, I've realized our responses have not been adequate. Here in Canada, Bishop Jan Hansen from the Diocese of Mackenzie-Fort Smith in Northwest Territories reflected in a letter to fellow Canadian Catholic bishops. He wrote, "As a bishop in a northern Canadian diocese, I've been able to witness firsthand the devastating effects of climate change. Churches are sinking into melting permafrost, and coastal communities are being displaced due to shorelines eroding into the sea. This is taking place at a rate which is fast outpacing the worst predictions of the researchers who have come to our north to study the phenomenon. It is clear that ours is an unsustainable way of life. For this reason, Bishop Hanson strongly encourages the divesting of financial investments in fossil fuels towards supporting more environmentally friendly, sustainable, and renewable energy sources. Numerous Catholic dioceses and religious communities have removed fossil fuels from their financial assets. Now, the Government of Canada must do the same. We are calling on the current government to put a stop to new fossil fuel extraction projects in Canada, including pipelines, and remove subsidies to domestic fuel companies. By endorsing the Fossil Fuels Non-Proliferation Treaty, you, our government, will demonstrate Canada's commitment to honor the climate promises Canada has made since the Paris Agreement. Thank you.
Today, as representatives of faith institutions and civic organizations stand side by side, we affirm something powerful. Religion and science are fully aligned. We are called to be stewards of the land, and we are called to safeguard the stability of our planet's climate for the safety of humankind and for the protection of all species with whom we share this earth. And scientists have spoken. The fossil fuel path is destabilizing our climate, threatening biodiversity, and endangering our future. I speak on behalf of Cafés Ottawa, a secular network of over 40 community and environmental organizations and hundreds of local leaders here in the city of Ottawa. Earlier today on Parliament Hill, I spoke about the stark choice facing Canada. We can continue to subsidize and expand fossil fuels, entrenching a future of climate breakdown. The repeated open letters from the United Fossil Fuel CEOs are well known to the press. In Trumpian terms, they are demanding the extension of the fossil fuel energy age in the name of national security. Or we can choose a renewable electric future, one that brings cleaner air, better health, more jobs, real security. Energy security comes with unhooking from dependence on fossil fuels. Canada must endorse the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. We must adopt the Elbows Up for Climate Plan. And our cities, starting with Ottawa, must fully implement local climate action and resiliency plans. Because we are all connected, because this is an all-hands-on-deck moment, and because today, science, faith, and civil society are standing together for climate justice, for future generations, and for hope. Thank you.
Merci. Nous n'avons pas de questions pour le moment. We don't have any questions at the moment. This concludes the press conference. Thank you. C'est ce qui conclut cette conférence de presse.